Hey, do you remember when Utah Governor Spencer Cox and the Republican controlled legislature were crowing this election season about how they had cut income taxes by more than $640 million? Some estimates close to $1 billion over the last couple of years. Turns out that might have been just a little too aggressive. According to updated revenue projections from the state, income tax collections for both individuals and corporations are about $225 million to $700 million below what they were projected to be for the first 4 months of this year. And here's why that is a problem. You see, under Utah's Constitution, income taxes can only be used to fund specific things in the budget: public education, higher education, and some social services. That's it. You cannot use income tax revenue for any other purposes. And over the last few years, lawmakers have had a surplus in income tax collections. They came in higher than what they had projected. So instead of putting that money back into those sources, education and social services, they decided to pass a big income tax cut that primarily targeted people at the upper end of the income scale. Because of those tax cut packages, they were expecting income tax collections to be lower than the previous years, which makes sense. And when they set the budget earlier this year in February, they expected individual income taxes to grow at about 2.9% year over year. And they expected corporate income tax collections to drop about 4% year over year. But according to the latest revenue numbers from the Utah State Tax Commission, income tax collections have been much lower than even what lawmakers were predicting at the beginning of this year. Instead of growing 2.9%, they were actually negative 1.6% for the first 4 months of this current fiscal year, and corporate income taxes were even worse. Instead of dropping 4.1%, those corporate income tax collections actually fell more than 15% for the first 4 months of the year when compared with last year. So in real numbers, the actual money they brought in from individual income taxes were anywhere between $146 million and $567 million below what they were projecting, and the shortfall in corporate income taxes was anywhere between $80 million and $135 million below what they were expecting to see. And like I said, that's a big problem because that money is what they use to fund public schools, higher education, and some social services for disabled Utahns. They're going to have a hard time finding any extra money for public education in the budget if these shortfalls continue. And you really have to start asking yourself, did lawmakers get too aggressive when they cut income taxes over the past 3 or 4 years instead of putting it where the Utah Constitution says it needs to go, in public education, higher education, and social services? We'll see how this plays out when we start to get new updated revenue projections sometime in December.